Welcome to Telling the Tale. It's a podcast where I, Mitchell Farley Wolf, am joined by Dustin Jackson. Say hi, Dustin.
Hi, Dustin.
We're both going to go through every single Telltale video game that was released in episodic format, and we are this week talking about Telltale's current game, the last episode of their current game, back from the dead just to grace us with The Expanse, a Telltale series, Episode 5, Europa's Folly, released on September 21st, 2023, developed in partnership between Telltale Games and Deck 9, published by Ad Hoc. Dustin, we finished
Hello.
it. We're there.
We did. We creamed this game.
Oh, man. We did cream it. I did a good job.
I think I did pretty okay.
Well, yeah, I didn't want to answer for you. I want you to... Yeah, I can only speak to myself right now. We haven't talked about what we did, but I think I did a good job.
I don't think I did, like, the best job. You might have done better than me, but I feel like I did better than I could have.
Okay, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel satisfied.
So, last episode that we talked about The Expanse... should we just dive into it? We're not doing any kind of preamble. We're just here.
Let's just dive right into it. It's a finale, baby.
By the way, okay, we use timeanddate.com to sync up with each other for the podcast. Sometimes we talk about what ads we have. This ad it's a fairly normal looking ad for like a bank, but it's got Winston from New Girl in it.
Huh. That's strange. Do you think these ads are just like AI generated?
It really does start to feel that way. Because none of them are grabbing. None of them make a point.
Yeah, exactly. They're just weird.
Yeah. Okay, that's the preamble. Now let's do an episode.
Yeah!
We talked last episode, we were sort of down on it. But we were comparing it or contrasting it, really, with New Tales from the Borderlands, the other post-Telltale game that's happened so far.
Isn't that just crazy? I never would have thought I would be comparing the two. I guess it makes sense, considering they're the two... Well, one's not Telltale, but it's still a sequel to a Telltale game. Another one is Telltale. So It's just interesting seeing what choices they make.
Yeah, well, my takeaway was like, they're both sort of a little... To me, feeling a little off the mark. I think The Expanse is much more successful. Like, I don't want to compare them in quality.
Right.
The Expanse is a better game than New Tales from the Borderlands. But where they differ significantly is like they're on opposite sides of the spectrum about how cluttered they want to be. Not in terms of literal like objects or anything, but in terms of narrative, ideas, themes, all of that.
Yeah.
And New Tales from the Borderlands was incredibly cluttered. It was all over the place. They brought up a theme sometimes mid-dialogue that you'd be like, oh, are you going to fall? No? You just said that? Okay.
All right, we're done with that.
All right. Your choice. And then with The Expanse, it is so narrowly focused. It's a pinpoint accuracy kind of thing, but that means that you also have pinpoint depth. A little bit, to be a bit critical. I guess we do that. We're a review podcast.
Yeah. You know what? I'll say this, just comparing the two. The Expanse is the better game. It's not nearly as annoying as New Tales from the Borderlands is. But I feel like I'm gonna remember New Tales from the Borderlands a lot more. It's very strong with what it is.
You know what? I probably will, and I probably do think that's true. It's not strong to its own strengths, though. Like, it's strong for bad reasons. But, like, I'll remember Octavio forever. Octavio is fun, you know? Octavio's he had fun things every once in a while. Yeah. Every once in a while. This game... Were there any zero gravity scenes in this episode?
No.
Yeah.
It was like all the big climax.
Yeah, there was a bit at the end, actually. And maybe we'll just talk about this out of order. That happened for me. I don't know if it happened for you. I bet the end could have gone in a very different way. Where the Artemis explodes. Did this happen for you?
Yeah.
Okay. And Drummer is coasting through the void from the explosion of the Artemis to Europa's Bane, the ship. And in that coasting, that could have been playable.
Yeah, I agree.
I kind of wanted one, like, send me off with an interesting zero grav section where maybe
it would
I
have
need
been
to
some
focus
time
on
to
like avoiding not turrets, because there wouldn't be turrets in that situation, but like other things like that.
Yeah, even if you don't do like any sort of gameplay while floating, they could have been like, okay, this is a time for Drummer to just, and you, to reflect on what has happened so far. Just like quietly float through space for a little bit before you reach the other ship.
Yeah,
that would have been like a nice way to cap it off.
As soon as that explosion happens, the game like absolutely sprints to the credits. It's cutscene at that point. Like, you're done affecting anything, and you're just watching. And I thought, like, there had to be something else in this episode. One, it was as short as any other episode, and that's pretty short. That's another thing I can say about The Expanse. You know, that is to its credit. If you want to sit down and spend like 6 hours in a session, which is probably the max of however long I would spend with a video game, you'll finish it.
Yeah, it's a game you really can just knock out pretty fast.
It's just a thought, you know, like it's a really cool way to spend a day, I bet. But like, you have the day to ruminate on that experience in the way that you would watching a movie.
Yeah, I think you would probably enjoy it more that way too. Like, I feel like the way we were playing it, it's just like a little more or less than an hour every 2 weeks. I feel like that could take the wind out of its sails. But if you're just like plowing through it all at one time, you might be a little more positive on it.
Well, what's interesting about that is that they chose that. The game was done.
Yeah, they didn't have to do it that way.
The game was... They said in many interviews, we're not going to put out any of these games. This is Telltale's new thing. We're not going to put out any of these games until all episodes are done. And then we're going to release them episodically in order to get people like excited about the next episode and talking about it and having a little community moment about it. Which I do think is cool, and I've seen that it kind of works. I've seen that people are talking about Drummer and her shenanigans online, so good job, that happened. But also, like, the game isn't built for it that much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Whereas with The Walking Dead or Sam & Max even, there are clear reasons that those things are episodic, and they use the format to their advantage.
Definitely. And here it's just... You're just breaking up one story. It just feels like it's out of obligation. It feels like, well, this is what old Telltale did.
Yeah. And frankly, that direction does make me a little nervous about Wolf 2.
Yeah,
I know that's a different
at the same
developer,
time,
but yeah.
Yeah, plus, I guess since we're already used to Wolf Among Us being episodic with Season 1, it won't feel as off, maybe. It depends how they do it.
They need to remember why that worked as well, and because I haven't seen that in The Expanse, I'm no longer convinced for sure it'll happen in Wolf 2, but I am I'm hopeful, and I believe that with a different team behind it, especially with this team being made a lot of the people that worked on other Telltale games like Wolf 1, then that would have been. That might not be a problem to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess we kind of blew past this question that we normally do. But Dustin, what'd you think?
I thought it was fine. It's, I feel like I liked it enough because it is just all action. It's never like dull in this episode, I would say.
Which is actually a pretty big change up for this series.
Yeah. that is a good change. But it is still pretty short, and I think my opinions on the series as a whole, now that it's done, is coloring how I'm feeling about it.
Okay, well tell me how you feel about that.
I don't think it was great.
Okay.
To be fair, it was a hard sell for me to begin with. I'm not that into the setting or the tone, and I knew that was going to be tough, but that's how I was with Walking Dead, and that really won me over. I adore The Walking Dead, and this one just did not have that same pull. The characters, I think, just I didn't hate the characters, but by the end I was like, I don't really care about any of them either. I guess Drummer kinda, sort of, but even then, she not really. They just don't give me any meat to latch onto with these characters or this story. But I did think this last episode had some good highlights, but even then it has stuff like you're only talking with Arlen for like a minute. Rayan does a thing.
Yeah.
Honestly, Khan and Virgil have better scenes than they do this episode, which I guess is nice since they've been kind of on the back burner the last couple.
Well, Virgil's been due. Virgil really hasn't had anything until this episode.
Yeah.
I liked that scene with Virgil quite a bit. Virgil reveals to you that he was there as part of the Earthen army on that day that Drummer did they say what it was called? Anderson Station. Drummer blew up Anderson Station, which was like a big belter area, and she feels very, very bad about it because she ended up, unbeknownst to herself, before she set up those bombs, killing a lot of other innocent belters just because her boss Anderson Dawes decided that was more politically advantageous to do so. And one of the Earthside people there was Virgil, and he explains to you he was just being a medic for them, but he was like on the opposite side on the worst day of her life.
Right.
Pretty rough news to convey to Drummer. They were building up that reveal, I think. They said for a while, Virgil's got secrets. How are you gonna feel about that?
Yeah, and the whole time I had no idea it was going to be like a secret directly tied to like something that would piss off Drummer especially.
I kind of figured it would.
I just thought it was like something. I feel like there's lots of that in The Walking Dead where it's like a character confides something in you.
Yeah.
And you're like, like Ben when he says he was responsible for the bandits, and Lee's just like, you should probably keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
That I thought it was going to be something like that where it's
that'll
like,
upset someone else on the ship. But
yeah,
not
and
you.
he confides it in you. I didn't know it was going to be directly like he's like, I specifically should not tell Drummer of all people.
Can we just take a break to give a shout out to one of my favorite Telltale characters of all time, Sarah from the Game of Thrones, when she tries this confiding thing about something that absolutely does not matter to you, and you're just sitting there and she's just drunk crying. One of my favorites.
Yeah, you know what?
I think about that often, actually.
Not the biggest Game of Thrones fan, but Sarah is my favorite. Yeah. She was the breakout star.
Yeah, breakout star. Maybe we should do, it's a little late to change up the formula now, but maybe we should do weekly guys for series as well when we finish them up.
That's an interesting idea. So for the episode, and then at the end, do who won the season bowl.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Would have been nice to have it earlier.
Sarah is absolutely my favorite for Game of Thrones.
Same.
It's just
what?
So funny.
She has no competition.
Yeah, no, it's great. And I liked some of those characters, and I still think like, yeah, dude, She...
Sarah runs away with that one.
Okay, what else are we talking about? This episode, I guess. Yeah, so right at the beginning, you, Drummer, and Tor get off of your little pod and you dock with the Artemis, and immediately you run into Ran. And the game gives you an outrageous choice right off the bat, which is to put your boot over Ran's head and turn on the magnetic power to crush his head with the gravity of your boot.
Jeez, yeah, just right off the bat.
Or don't do that.
or just don't.
And fight Tor because he wants you to do that. This, I really wish I could tell you that I squished Rayan's head, because I know you didn't, but I definitely didn't. And come on, what is this choice?
Rayan's like one of the few people who is like on your, like, he didn't like stop Arlen from killing Maya, but it's not like he is the asshole.
Well,
here.
for me, he did.
Yeah, for even better for you.
Yeah, I'm not.
That's even more interesting. I'm interested to see what happens with Maya in this episode for you.
Yeah, we'll get to it.
Okay.
So, yeah, so Rayan, we both spared Rayan at the early. So this is like, I think literally like 3 minutes into the start of the episode, right? Like, or less.
Right.
And it's you making the decision, I guess, to like what side you're going to be on right off the bat.
Right.
But like the choices don't really reflect that, because it seems like you're going to have to be on the side of the Artemis crew even if you kill Rayan, based on the choices that they show you at the end of the episode.
Yeah, I guess Rayan didn't mean that much to them.
Yeah, because like you're still immediately after this, you're going to go to Virgil, and you're not going to be against him in a fight or anything. And then you're going to go to Khan, and you're going to kind of be with Khan. And then you're going to go to Arlen, and you're going to be against Arlen. And that seems to be happening. Like, based on how these choices are worded that they tell you at the end of the episode, you can get a sense of how things might have gone. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that you're ever really, like, against the Artemis crew.
Yeah. It also just does not seem like something Drummer would do. Like, is she gonna take orders from Tor to kill someone who is not even worth it?
Yeah, like his whole reason for killing Rayan as well, Tor's whole rationale, is that we always kill the first one to send a message. So it's not even like a requirement, you know? It's not even advantageous. It's just tradition. And it's someone else's tradition. It's not yours. So yeah,
I don't need to kill this guy.
Hard sell, but I still think it's it's an interesting choice. It's interesting that it is a choice. Like they're using the format of the game that you make choices like this to almost sell the idea that this is a choice, when you know, like, you would have been fine having this just be a cutscene in which Drummer says, "No, I'm not going to do that." But yeah, like they're interestingly using the format of the game. I like this. I think it's cool, even though the choice is fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, boy. Part of me did want to be like, oh, this is quite a choice.
I gotta see how this goes. Yeah.
It's ridiculous just off the bat, but yeah, I didn't. It just, A, I wouldn't do that. B, I don't think Drummer would do it.
I don't think I would do it. I don't think Drummer would do it. I don't think Rayan deserves it. I think that it's absolutely insane that Tor doesn't just give you a gun for this. And
well, you can ask him for his gun. And I kind of feel like this isn't what I did, but given the choices at the end, I kind of feel like you could maybe like play him, like say, give me the gun, and then you don't kill him, you kill Tor instead.
Yeah. That makes sense. Just the fact that it's the boot it is so
what a grisly
visceral. Yeah,
way
it's
to choose to
rough.
kill
It's just
someone.
gross.
Ew. You're gonna have to clean that after?
Like, we haven't seen anything like that, I don't think, in any of the grosser Walking Dead or Game of Thrones scenes. I don't think we've seen just crushing a skull with a foot. I don't. That's pretty wild.
We've seen crushing a skull with a big salt block, though.
Yeah, but like that scene leads up to that. Like that's what you had around. That's like that's the necessity of a stressful moment. This is like, we're choosing this.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah. So, I guess we can only talk about our perspective here. I did not kill Rand with my foot.
I did not as well.
And we did fight against Tor. He got away in that moment. But then we talked to Rand, and later in the episode, you can actually like find the med bay again, and you can talk to Rand more after he wakes up. Did you do this?
I don't think I did. I don't remember. I just put him in the chair and then talked to Virgil.
Yeah, it's after the Virgil scene. They'll put you in like a free roam mode of the whole ship.
And, you can go back to him?
And then you can go back to the med bay and have another conversation with Rand.
I guess I didn't do that, yeah.
It's not a big one. It's just like a couple sentences. But Drummer says to Rand, "Hey, Rand, I want you to know I'm about to go to the basement and I have to deal with your brother." And Rand just sort of looks at you and he goes, "Yeah, I understand." And that there's some closure there. And you can tell he's very conflicted. It's still his brother, but like he gets it.
Yeah, that's something. That's something at least. I kind of wish I had saw that.
Yeah, I mean, you kind of, depending on what happens later, you might get the same impression. But okay, so then the Virgil scene. He's freaking out, and you have the option to either stay with Virgil or just keep doing what you're doing and like let him freak out in private. And this is a very cool scene. I like this a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Drummer asks Virgil step by step, like, okay, you have a patient that's freaking out. What would you do? And he's like, okay, well, I would brew some tea, but if there's not enough time to brew any tea, I would talk to them in this way, and I would try to figure out what's the root of the situation. And then Drummer like does that back to Virgil, but using a series of choices. So you actually have to listen to what Virgil's saying Drummer should do, and then make the best choices based on that to actually be like a mini therapist in that moment.
Yeah.
A very cool, very grounded moment in the middle of a very rough and tumble, exciting raid of a time.
Yeah, I liked it a lot. I guess you can fail to do this.
Yeah.
I did it. Were you successful in helping him through his panic attack?
Yeah, so I played it no way did I play it last night. It might have been 2 nights ago. So I did calm Virgil, as did at the time 54% of other players.
Yeah.
So more than half, a majority, but still not a very strong majority.
Yeah, I would have thought it would have been higher. I guess it makes sense since I guess it would make sense for the player to choose for Drummer to be mad at this. I forgave him. It made sense to me. Like, you were the medic for them. You didn't even kill anybody. So I believe that she would forgive him and help him through this. But I could totally see someone being like, no, sorry.
Well, what I see more is like, I forgive you, but I cannot deal with you right now. I'd have to go do other things in the ship. That's something I would understand more.
Yeah.
Yeah. Or like failing the choices, which a good amount of players did actually, which is funny. So yeah, so that's a good Virgil scene, and then Virgil goes to fix up Rand because he got shot by Tor at the very beginning, like in the shoulder.
Right.
Then you go to Khan. So I think that I might have gotten a special scene with Khan because of what I've done earlier that I know you didn't. So why don't you tell me what happened with Khan?
So it looked like Khan took out Tor.
Yep. Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah, but she had been shot, and she's like, oh, whatever, who cares? And then they just have a big shootout scene with more of the pirates who come on board.
So that happens for me too, but I wonder if I might have had an advantage in the shootout. Because when we were talking to Khan before and I gave her that cigar, she told this story about how she and her man developed a system where the code word was Artemis. And if he was just talking to pirates as they were raiding the ship, he would slip in the word Artemis, at which point Khan would remove her hands from behind her head, revealing that she was holding a gun right behind her head the whole time, and shoot the pirates out in that exact moment. And the tragedy of it all was, even though they had this system, Khan froze up when her husband guy did this the first time, and he died from it. Drummer gets to give her this extra opportunity of, okay, we're doing the system. I'm going to say the word Artemis. And she does that during the initial conversation with the pirates. And then Khan does it, and they do their big shootout after that.
Wow.
But it sounds like the shootout would have happened either way. Like in both cases.
Yeah, the shootout happened either way.
Yeah, in both cases, we help kill the boarding party with Khan. Khan survives for me. Did she?
Khan did not survive for me.
That is a big difference. Okay, that's what matters. We found the difference.
We found the one. You played better than I did.
Yeah, we had a system. You see, I would say the word Artemis, and then we would attack, which helps somehow.
Yeah, because Khan just got shot again during the shootout, and that's how it happened.
Gotcha. Well, that's a bummer. Sorry about your Khan.
It happens.
I guess. Yeah. So after that, you go downstairs for the final showdown. You've been told Maya's down there, but I've been told that Maya's down there with Arlen. But I don't see Maya when I come down there. And Arlen reveals to me, I shot Maya out the airlock before the pirates came because I didn't want her being a liability. Which
cool, man.
Which makes Drummer very mad at Arlen. And they do a little fight. And I assume this fight probably happened the same way.
Well, except for the Maya part.
Right. But getting into the fight after that.
Right.
But then you get like in an arm lock between you and Arlen, and then Rayan comes down for me.
Ooh.
Did that happen to you?
That did not happen for me.
Okay, what happened for you?
Well, first tell me what happened for you, because you already told me.
So Rayan comes down, and then you and Arlen both put your hands up and separate for a second, and you try to make a case, and you have some like lines that you can choose to make a case, but whatever you choose to say, it's cut off halfway through your sentence because Rayan shoots Arlen, and Rayan kills Arlen in that moment.
Interesting. Yeah, that's not how it went down for me.
Well, I kind of liked that ending. So how did yours go?
Toussaint came aboard.
Yeah, no, she still does that for me.
Yeah, but she killed Arlen in a pretty funny scene.
Oh, okay.
Arlen says, here, I got the MK core. Here, we can split the profits 50-50, and then she just shoots him in the head.
Yeah, he should have asked for a smaller number.
Yeah, that did not work out. He got greedy.
Should have been 40-60.
Yeah, I just thought it was very funny how Toussaint doesn't even say anything. Toussaint just like, well, you're dead. That's now I get all of it.
Yeah, maybe if he offered 100-0, she would have been like, well, that is what I want.
I guess I'll let you live.
Yeah. No.
So
Rayan came down and killed Arlen for me.
So he really just airlocked Maya?
No.
Okay.
But he says
he just says he did.
Yeah, and I have in my notes here. Did Arlen really kill Maya? I don't trust it. And I was right.
Yeah. I would need to see how it plays out, but it also just strikes me as like, what does he gain from this?
Yeah, and like the way
he tells you one thing, and that's not true.
Yeah, well, the way he explains it, he's trying to like egg Drummer on.
Right.
He's trying to. He's so mad at her for other reasons too, and he's just saying like, "Yeah, I killed her. I killed your girl. I don't even give a shit."
He's stupid. I think Arlen is stupid. What if Maya was there with her? Like he says, yeah, guess what? I airlocked your girlfriend. Then Maya comes down and she's like, did you? And he's like, oh.
Well, no, she isn't on the Artemis, is the thing.
Oh, okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, technically, I guess, sort of true. He did airlock her, but she makes it over to the Europa's Bane later, because...
Gotcha.
During that meeting between Toussaint and Drummer, Julie Mao, who has been a minor player up to this point, comes over the intercom, I guess, from the other ship, and he's like, hey, I don't know who can hear this right now. Oh man, this sucks so bad. I don't know who can hear this right now, but I'm trying to talk to you, Drummer. I hope no one else is in earshot. I killed all of the pirates on Europa's Bane. They're all dead.
I just killed all of them, and it was fine and easy.
Yeah, and then she says, and guess who else is here? And then it's Maya's voice over the intercom saying, Drummer, it's me, I'm fine. You gotta stay safe. You gotta get out of there.
Yeah, don't even, worry about
it. Yeah, so at that point, Drummer turns around and tells Rayan, hey, run up deck, get Virgil and Khan, get out of here. Because the writing's on the wall that the Artemis is not going to make it through.
Right.
Yeah, and then you have a sort of final boss fight with Toussaint. And then that's the game.
Yeah. Well, want to know something? I totally forgot about this, but something I loved. I did have a little payoff to something I did in an earlier episode.
Okay.
So, do you remember how in episode 2 I gave Cox the liquor?
Sure, yeah.
So, in this episode, before...
You still have Cox. I completely forgot about that. Okay.
Yeah. Before Arlen gets shot by Toussaint, you get the upper hand on him because so you and him end up... He opens... I'm trying to remember exactly how it played out. You end up going in the brig where Cox is, and he just wallops Arlen with the bottle.
Good.
Of the liquor that because you gave it to him in episode 2, he's like, I have a bottle to hit him in the head with.
I've been saving it.
Yeah. So, and then after that, Cox runs out, escapes, I guess. We don't see him again after that. He says, I guess we're even now, Captain.
He's not even on that, scene at the very end, the post-credits thing? I don't think it's post-credits. It's like when they're on the other ship. Yeah, it says series vicinity 3 weeks later.
Yeah, I don't remember seeing him there. But maybe he was, and I just... didn't notice him. I don't think it was. I had a much smaller crew at the end than you did.
Yeah. We've kind of jumped over that fight with Toussaint. There was some interesting stuff in there.
Yeah.
She puts a gun to your head as soon as she finds you, and she grabs the MK core off you, and she's like, give me one reason your life is worth anything. And you have a few different choices, and what do you choose?
I chose...
If this happened for you. It happened, right?
Yeah. So you can choose between Justice, the Belt, or Maya.
Right. I chose
And
Maya.
I chose Justice.
What do you do? Really? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know why. It just seemed like...
Justice for what?
I'm trying to remember exactly what she said.
You see, that's why I was
didn't write it
confused. I don't remember what she would care about justice for. Just doesn't seem one of the core themes.
Yeah, what's his name? The guy.
What? Give me
starts with a D.
Dawes? Anderson Dawes?
Dawes.
Okay.
Dawes, yeah.
Okay. Give me anything more than that.
I think it's because she wanted to bring him to justice.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know, like, she loved Maya, but it just seemed like, to me, there were bigger things. I feel like maybe I should have chosen the Belt even. Might have been
I do.
choice.
I was torn between the Belt and Maya. But I remembered how Toussaint kind of responded to Drummer loving Maya before.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was, you know what? That was a good call. How did Toussaint react?
I think she's going to react the same way with all three. But she's convinced it's a good argument.
Yeah.
And then she wants you to join up
okay.
with the family and start a station somewhere. Like with the amount of money that they'll receive from the MK Corps, it'll be big. And yeah, obviously, like, you don't do that, but there's not even a choice to sort of like get into it. Because Toussaint says, "What do you say?" And then you're given the dialogue options of either "You're insane" or "You're evil,
traitor.
You're a traitor." And that...
Yeah, I thought you were going to be allowed to be like, okay.
Yeah, you know what? In a game like this, where the choice factor is the draw, that felt pretty lame. that honestly did feel like a pretty big railroading moment. Like, just have drummers say you're insane if you want that to happen, you know? Just have it happen.
Yeah, it's a little look, we got to make this story end in this one way. We can't just have all these branching paths. What do you think this is?
Yeah, you know,
a Telltale game?
I just don't think this format, it kind of worked with Wolf Among Us, but like this format of taking one character from a story and then making it the prequel to that story, but like an immediate prequel with that character, I don't think it works. You know, like I don't think that's a great format.
Yeah.
And I'm nervous for Wolf 2 with that same thing, because it's also like still a prequel to Fables. And we know Big Wolf is in Fables. We know Snow White is not gonna die.
Did we talk about how Fables is public domain now, including the game?
No, we did not talk about that.
Isn't that some shit?
Now, is the game really public domain, or is the game like the game elements public domain? But you can't. Just...
I think it's the game elements. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, because you can't just like repackage the game and publish it yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah, that is significant.
Yeah, sorry, a little weird to bring up in the middle of our the Expanse episode.
No,
but
it's good. I would have forgotten to bring it up.
It is news. It is news that ties into us.
Yeah, I wonder if Telltale's going to feel any kind of way about their claim to the franchise no longer being exclusive.
Yeah, that's weird to me. If it were me, I would be like, well, we're still putting out Wolf Among Us 2. You know, it's still a product that we feel very strongly about. But then, yeah, that might... I don't know, maybe it wouldn't be the end. I guess it depends on what they want to do. Yeah. It'll be interesting going forward.
Yeah. It'll be a weird one.
We could make our own Wolf Among Us.
That is
what was the one you suggested?
That is the joke that a lot of people have suggested to us. That why don't we just make our own Wolf Among Us? And I would tell them, that's not a problem that we have, you know? Like, the idea that there's not enough Wolf Among Us has not been one of the issues of the show. It's
right.
We've been fine waiting for number 2.
If anything, there's just the right amount.
Yeah, I mean, we still just have other things. Why would we need any more games when we still have more games to do?
What was yours though? Like Mr. Toad goes to New Mexico to get like
A turquoise
turquoise necklace. Yeah,
yeah. Just has a good arid vacation.
That'd be great. I'd love to see that.
Yes, you have a fight with Toussaint. I don't think she can live. You get in the airlock. All the other pirates are dead, and you have a spacesuit, so you just airlock out, and she gets spaced.
Yeah, and then the big explosion at the end.
Big explosion at the end. You get blasted all the way to Europa's Bane, it's wild that the explosion blasted you exactly in the right direction.
Who would have guessed?
And then you stand on Europa's Bane watching the explosion of the Artemis, and for me, Maya's there to greet you and gives you a hug.
Yeah, you know. I bet it was nice.
I love this running gag we have.
well, hey, you know, my episode had Cox have the liquor bottle, so who's the real winner?
Me. And yeah, so the series vicinity thing 3 weeks later, Maya is happy with you for me. And then she says that she's got to go with Julie. She's got to go with Julie Mao to go to Ceres because Ceres needs mechanics. And also because Julie Mao's like a rich girl and she needs some sort of watching over.
Right. My version of that was different. For me, it was Julie Mao who said she needed to go, and not Julianne Maya.
Right. And that really filters right into the first season of the show. If you've seen the first season of the show, you'll know that Julie Mao is a rich person's daughter, like a very, very wealthy person's daughter. And one of the main characters of the show is a detective who tries to find her. And it's revealed that she actually left on her own volition to go do Belter rebel type stuff that her family would not approve of.
Okay.
So like that's the deal with her. And I guess Maya's just going with her now. And that's just how that is. Drummer, meanwhile, gets a call from Fred Johnson, another show character, who is trying to recruit Drummer for a new version of the OPA, a new, more egalitarian, more future-forward-looking version of the OPA without the Anderson Dawes stuff.
Right.
And asks her to go to Tycho Station. So she brings all of them, except Maya and Julie, to Tycho Station. And that's where we leave off. I don't think you can fit another season of that in between the start of the show and now. So I think that's done. I think it's done.
Do you see them doing another Expanse like set in a different time of the show, or do you think the Expanse is just done, like a one-off?
I'm assuming it'll probably just be done. Although,
okay,
the bonus episode, we still have a bonus episode to tackle
true.
at some point. Still no word on the release date for that, other than fall of what year is it? 2023. But we're in fall of 2023. We're actually as of
Where is it?
Is it tomorrow? Is the start of fall? As of recording?
I believe so, the 23rd.
Yeah, so, yeah. Oh, man. Time. It gets you. Right. Yeah, so you'll have the bonus episode. That is about a completely different person in a completely different part of the solar system. They're on Earth. They're like an Earth senator, I think. So... yeah, that'll be a very different story as well. But yeah, like I don't think there's going to be much room for the story to go there either. It's probably just going to be that bonus episode.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I mean it's what it is. You didn't
Yeah.
like it, so
I did not think the Expanse was very good. I don't think it was like that bad, but it just didn't didn't do much to grab me. I didn't think it was that interesting. I didn't have like an awful time with it. I didn't like hate the characters, but I didn't love them either.
so I actually like this setting. I thought there's a lot more they could have done with it. This season had huge and bright flashes of like working with some real fire, just putting some real spirit behind it. Um, Everything that went down on the space station with the with all the coffins and the people who want aliens to resurrect them because their bodies will be preserved in space. That is a
Mm-hmm.
really cool idea. Um,
Yeah,
Everything there
I think
is
it's
cool.
interesting. It doesn't really, you know,
I
go anywhere here.
yeah. Other than setting up like how dangerous the MK core is,
Yeah.
um, which I guess is important. It's why you can't just let Toussaint have it. But it like that being in service to the Toussaint conflict seems like it should be backwards because that's the more interesting thing
Yeah.
than the Toussaint conflict. And the relationship with Maya, I thought was really nice for.
Yeah.
I mean, for episode 2 specifically, right? In
Mhm.
episode 2 and 3, and that was a highlight. And I like the exploration with the Zero G. We didn't get any of it in this episode again, but um, if it was all one
My
game, like we're saying it should be, it wouldn't feel like the last fifth of it didn't have it. We probably wouldn't even clock that.
yeah, it would just be like, okay, well, this game had a lot of zero G in it.
Yeah, and it was good. I guess we liked it.
Yeah.
Maybe.
For me, I feel like I would like the zero G parts more if I don't think it led to anything interesting to me. Like, you are just kind of floating around. You are doing like the few times you're doing puzzles, they're like very basic. They're like as basic as puzzles can get. And I yeah, I part of it is also I just don't care for the setting. I think it's kind of boring, kind of drab. So it's not like I'm floating through like a magical alien forest or something. Um, it was just floating through like empty hallways, not doing anything particularly interesting. I think on paper the zero G floating is good. I didn't like
They give
say,
you a
oh,
lot of
I'm
tools
not
to
having fun.
explore, right? And like a lot of
Yeah.
space to explore, but then not a lot to find in it.
Yeah, I mean, you can get achievements for getting like scavenged things you find or data logs, but like what about that? Why else besides getting an achievement would I personally want to do that?
Well, I guess like Khan lived for me
Yeah.
because we had shared a story about her past, and we did that because I gave her a cigar, and I did that because I found a cigar, and I found it because I was doing all this exploration when I was kind of like sidetracked off of doing other things.
Right.
And I guess that's the point. Sort of like expecting and leaning forward that even finding the smallest thing can help you with your interpersonal relationships later in the storyline. But that, I like, so I get it. Like, I can say I get that about that, but I don't know if it feels good to have
Yeah,
Khan
it's
live
boring.
because you found a cigar in a wall. I found it
Yeah,
in a
just
wall.
because you did a lot of boring exploration to find this one tiny thing, you get to have a character live.
I cut a square in a wall and there was a cigar behind it. And and that's how I got Khan to live.
Yeah, that's I if I had done that, I still wouldn't have felt good about it. Like, yeah, Khan's here, but I didn't like have fun getting that cigar or anything. I
Yeah.
didn't I wasn't like, yeah, this is fun exploring all of these empty space stations to find this one thing. The one time I did do that was I found the medicine for Arlen, and look how that turned out.
Well, I mean, that helped with Rayan, because, that...
It didn't, because I didn't do the one at the beginning.
Right, true.
I had to do all three things for it to help.
Well, this is interesting to what we were talking about last episode. Not last episode of The Expanse, just last episode of the podcast, when we were talking about the Season 3, Episode 4 moment of The Walking Dead, when it looks like, we still haven't gotten to the end, we don't know what'll happen, but it looks like Kate might have died because she just vanned bad in the middle of a lot of other interpersonal drama that actually seemed like it was going to affect it. This game, I think, is the logical maximum of the idea of sometimes all these little things that don't feel that they should be related at all are going to be the thing that really saves you or kills you.
Right.
Interesting point. I see your point. Well made. I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I should be concerned with things that I can't tell if how they will matter. That seems like a really bad way to live. Just
right. No,
picking up every
I'm just
spare bit of detritus in the hope that one of them might be a cigarette butt that you can feed to a cigarette butt eater, and then he'll tell you the story of his life.
Right. Yeah. I mean, where I'm coming from is just, so Khan died for me because I didn't give her the cigar, I guess. And then I just think about well, what if I went back and got that cigar so Khan could live for me? I think about that and I'm like, well, I don't know. It wouldn't have made me have more fun with the game. I still would have been just floating through these empty halls in this space station. Mm-hmm. I, if anything, I'd probably feel worse because I did more of this thing that I did not want to do. That's all. That's all I'm saying.
I'm glad Khan's alive, but I
wish Khan was alive.
I'll preface all of what not preface. We're in it. I'll just say that I liked the exploration. I found the cigar naturally. And I'm not saying that anyone should just find it naturally. It was kind of hidden. But, I did explore because I was kind of having fun looking around. That's why I was doing it. And
and that's fine. I feel like it's totally just a personal preference thing for me. This is just not a location or even a tone for the location where I'm I want to look around and find things here.
Yeah.
So it is on me. I don't want to say no one would have fun doing this. Obviously you just said you did. I just feel like I might have liked this even less if I had put in the effort to find this cigar.
Well, what I just keep being brought back to is this is the company, although, different personnel and a lot of changes have happened, that made Sam & Max. And Sam & Max is the series that routinely does pretty well at having you explore a big area and, finding loose items that might factor in at some point later on to an interpersonal character development thing.
Yeah, and I would love that. If it were Sam & Max right now, I would be I'm gonna go all over just because I like being in this world with these characters.
Sure, but even just on a gameplay flow level of
you think it does it better?
It's so much. Yeah, the idea of finding the items and then it'll be on you to see how you use the items. And obviously, we're just talking about a different genre of video game at this point. That isn't how things work in this format. But, that's why you would go on an exploration. Because you're thinking, well, I'd have no reason before to just pick up a roll of tape. I don't have any use for tape. But now I'm thinking that I could use the tape on the broken glass. And, all of a sudden, the exploration to find the tape isn't just, an aimless trash collection. It's purposeful and it's player driven, and
totally.
Also what you're saying, the fact that the Expanse mostly does take place in the void of space is just gonna have to be a thing that if you're in for it or not. and Sam and Max is in contrast very fun and blocky and colorful, so it's gonna be friendlier. But yeah, just like the way the gameplay feels about that kind of exploration, I think that they could do more with it, or they could bring that back into some more point and click adventure, player driven logic puzzle type stuff that those older ones are built off, if they want the focus to be exploration. Because if they do, and it seems like maybe they do, they can't just do that and then make the core of the game just picking dialogue choices.
Yeah, I agree. Another thing I'll give in Sam and Max's favor, and like you said, it's just because the games are structured differently. But in Sam and Max, the locations are pretty small. It is not a hassle to explore like a whole area. Like I think about the first episode of season 2 with like Santa's workshop. You could just look around there and be like, oh, what's over here? What's over here? Oh, there's something I can pick up. I'll do that. And it's just less of a hassle to do these explorations. In the Expanse, these space stations can be huge with like lots of different little rooms, and you don't know if it's going to be worth exploring this huge section. I feel like if they were smaller, even if I wasn't into the setting, even if it was if it was like a smaller ship to explore with less doors to go inside of, I might have still done it just because, well, what's the harm in doing it? But in the Expanse, it's just huge, and I'm like, I can't be bothering with this. I gotta do this thing I'm doing. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it at least feels like after episode 2, I don't think they do it very often. I don't think they have any more. I might be forgetting like one or two things, but I don't recall anything where it's like, oh, you can find the cigar or you can find the medicine and give them back to this person if you go out of your way. I think episode 3 onward, it's pretty linear, and you would just be finding like data logs and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, there's like offshoot hallways all over the place. Like we talked this episode about having that second conversation with Rayan.
Yeah,
like you can do stuff still, even in these linear parts, but when it's not linear, then you expect to find even more.
Exactly.
Yeah, and like if that's the thing we're coming up against, where like if I want to explore and feel like I should be rewarded with exploring by finding like some crazy other thing to happen, but this is the vibe of the universe doesn't support crazy things to happen like this, then maybe we kind of found the problem. Maybe that's a core issue with the central idea of the game. And maybe it should have been more Borderlands-y, where you can imagine there's just, like in the corner of the ship, there's just a guy who's been like, yeah, I live here. This is my deal. This is my whole
I'm
thing.
Here. Good job finding me. Here's one of my fun little action figures for you.
I give these action figures to everyone that finds me.
You know what? If that was the only thing different and like everything else was the same, that would be very not good for the kind of story it is, but I'd like it.
Yeah, I know that about you.
I'd love if there was just a funny little old man. And Drummer's like, well, that was random.
Yeah, so I will say that having the like end of the game filter into what I'm pretty sure is just the story of the Expanse and not be a setup for a season 2, I think that's a good call. Not just because, not to be rude about it. You know, we've said that we're mixed to maybe slightly negative on this game already, but
yeah, we've said some things.
We've said it, but like I do think the idea of just saying like, hey, here's a one-off, very compact story about Kamina Drummer that we can tell in our format. I like that a lot. It's not overly ambitious or small. It's just like this is exactly the size of the story we want to tell. Nothing else happened. It's just this. And then like maybe we'll do a bonus episode with another thing. I think that's cool. Frankly, without knowing the history that they always wanted to make a second season of The Wolf Among Us, I probably would have said, like, oh, I don't know if I need that. I'd rather you just sort of do another thing that carries a lot of the same qualities. But knowing that they wanted to do it changes things, obviously.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, and in this way, like, it does feel like The Expanse is a singular entity in Telltale's catalog. So we got through it, and now we've seen it. That's The Expanse.
Yeah, I mean that's fine. Look at all the other singular entities Telltale's had. Sometimes they just do a one-season wonder.
Yeah, but a lot of the time you can tell, like, they tried to do more seasons. Game of Thrones could have gone more.
Right.
Like, it really strongly sets up a second season. Minecraft does too. I mean, Guardians of the Galaxy, we'll talk about it when we get to it. We have no idea if... I guess at this point we just have no idea. I'm actually thinking, is there anything they've done after The Walking Dead that is so strongly just one season? Like, Tales from the Borderlands is a much bigger thing, so they're...
That's true. Yeah, I don't know. Tales from the Borderlands was just one season. I don't know if they wanted to do more Tales from the Borderlands or not.
I don't know if they did. Clearly, Gearbox did.
Yeah, it did get another, but I don't know, like, how Telltale was feeling about it.
Yeah, and also the characters just showed up in Borderlands 3, so, like, it was continued.
Yeah, maybe it was... I mean, this is speaking for them. I don't know how it went down, but maybe it was just we will do this one thing, and then the Borderlands universe can just take over from there. Yeah, I don't know. Everything else seems pretty, like you said, Game of Thrones, they wanted to do a second season.
Yeah, I guess we'll see with, I guess we'll see with Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah. I'm surprised they didn't do another Monkey Island. Maybe it's... I don't remember when the LucasArts sale happened.
To Disney?
But, yeah.
There would have been still a few years after that.
Right.
Because it was 2009, like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah. Who knows? I just think about, like, how successful that was for them. It's interesting they didn't, like, fast track another one, but...
Well, yeah, but they have that ending, right? With the voodoo lady.
Yeah,
like they
that's
set
true.
It up.
They were, yeah, that's totally true.
And I think they've also talked about, like, even just really liking working on Strong Bad.
Mm-hmm.
So even, like, before Walking Dead, it was like they probably weren't going to do another Jurassic Park. And they probably weren't going to do another Wallace and Gromit, but yeah, even then they were always thinking in the terms of in terms of multiple seasons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Back to the Future. Back to the Future was definitely a one season thing.
Yeah, that's true. What about Jurassic Park?
I don't know that. I don't think it could have been. I don't think it could have done more.
That's true. I'm glad they didn't.
Yeah, that game is hard. That game is hard.
Imagine if we had to do another one of them.
That game is just okay. I went to Jurassic World in Universal Studios Hollywood.
Congratulations.
Talked a little bit about that before on the podcast. Yes, thank you very much. And the whole time I was there, I was just thinking, like, yeah, QTEs were, like, the whole deal in that game. Very interesting. Because it was the QTE part of Walking Dead, but no choices. And that was just, they said they were done and they made the game.
It's so interesting that it only focuses on that one part, and then they bring that, even though that game wasn't successful, they still brought that into The Walking Dead and just pulled it off in a much better way.
Yeah,
it isn't the whole game.
It takes a real visionary mind, and I'm saying this in a way that might sound like a joke, and I do not mean it. This is 100% serious. It takes a real visionary mind to look at that part of Jurassic Park and say, well, that was working. So let's take that and put it somewhere else. Because I didn't think that was working, but like
I guess
they're
just
right.
because
Like
it's
that was the
balanced
right
out
move.
a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's balanced out with stuff like the choices, exploring, light puzzles here and there, and just better characters. And so, because QTEs aren't the whole fucking game, they sit better with you with Walking Dead.
Yeah. I do think about that one scene where they're like in that underwater dome thing at the end.
And it eats the scientist.
It's the scientist through like the floor hole.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's something to think about too.
that's fun.
That's always fun. It's always fun for the whole family.
Yeah, I mean, I hate to be mean when this game just came out, but I would put it probably near my bottom.
Oh wow.
As far as Telltale's games go for this show,
Okay.
I'd put it above New Tales from the Borderlands as a game, but like I said, I do think New Tales from the Borderlands is more memorable. I'm gonna look back and be like, oh yeah, I remember that weird fighting mini game with Fran.
Yeah.
I remember when they went on the fucking Shark Week show.
Dude,
not Shark Week.
Borderlanders is so funny every time. Every time I think about it, it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so hard to say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd put those down there. I think I do like Game of Thrones better than both of those.
Yeah, I like Game of Thrones more. I think this is better. I mean, yeah, I think it's like fine. Things that we really didn't like Jurassic Park and New Tales from the Borderlands and CSI. I'm gonna put below this, but like still.
Yeah. Oh, CSI. How did I forget?
Yeah, CSI.
No CSI is better than this.
And for my taste, I think I like this more than Wallace and Gromit, even. But yeah, I think that might be like early half of Minecraft is sort of close to where we are with this.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'd put it below those two. But here's a question for you, Mitchell. Which would you say? New Tales from the Borderlands is worse, or Jurassic Park is worse?
Jurassic Park is worse.
Okay, I'm agreeing, even though I think New Tales from the Borderlands did more to upset me. Like, I was more pissed off at the choices New Tales from the Borderlands did, but I think it's only because there are other things that are memorable and likable about it in a way.
Well, Jurassic Park it's sort of a bummer because like you can tell that everyone is really trying their best in a way that makes me root for it, and then it doesn't get there, you know.
Yeah.
And then in Tales from the Borderlands, like, oh wow, you have infinite dollars to make this game. This is a high budget Telltale game. This game looks incredible. And
this is what you give us?
Yeah, there's so many settings, and they're so well done, and like the acting is kind of hit or miss, but like it goes hard.
Yeah, the presentation's very good.
Yeah, so sort of like to have everything in the world just work out for you, and then you New Tales from the Borderlands. That's tough. With Jurassic Park, like the writing was pretty all right sometimes. Like the acting was pretty good. I remember thinking like, oh, that character dynamic is kind of interesting. But then, like, the game can't do it. Like, the game really can't come together for you to do it.
Yeah, I don't remember her name. Nika Futterman's character, the thief at the beginning who, like, joins your side.
Oh, yeah, I'm not going to be able to pull that name.
It wasn't like Rita, was it? I don't remember. She was... I remember thinking she was okay. She was a likable enough character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, she was good, and then like her relationship with one of the like the mercenaries was interesting. Yeah, because they were from the same like people group or whatever.
Yeah,
and talking about Jurassic Park tough. From the perspective of, hey, this is an island. There were people on it, and you're kind of unleashing dinosaurs everywhere. What the hell? Interesting aspect of the story to focus on that the movies really don't. So yeah, that's good and cool. But yeah, it just can't come together. So I think I have to put it under New Tales from the Borderlands. New Tales from the Borderlands, I think works if you view it as like, don't try to think about any of these scenes having any context relating to each other at all. They're just things that happen.
Right.
And
yeah.
How do you feel about that?
It's a game where you can kind of turn your brain off, and if the humor's for you, you can laugh at it. I thought the humor was pretty obnoxious, but
yeah,
it is memorable. I think you're right. I gotta put Jurassic Park as like Jurassic Park or the CSI games.
I put them both
CSI
under
games
New
would
Tales, I think.
Right, but what about, would you put some of the CSI games at the bottom?
That's what I'm saying. I would
Jurassic
put
Park?
Jurassic Park and CSI below New Tales.
Yeah, but what about those two, which is worse? I guess it's like you said, Jurassic Park
well,
at
the
least
CSI
has...
games are different from each other at that point. So, like that first CSI game that we played on PS2 that wasn't built for PS2 was the single worst game that we played for this podcast with a bullet by a mile. Not even close to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park worked.
Yeah. And like you said, it did have some interesting ideas.
Yeah, and I feel bad for shitting on it because, like, it really was not meant to be played on PS2. We took advantage of the convenience of that when we found it unable to be played on PC.
And then we kicked it while it was down.
But yeah, like that game existed in a better form on PC at some point. And people at the time didn't seem to hate it. So like I don't want to say like that game was bad, but what we played was very bad.
Yeah, boy, I just remembering back to that alley in the box.
Yeah, and then like CSI's 2 and 3 were both better than 4, I thought. Because they had some of the more interesting, like, real what the fuck like character motivation for all of these suspects. We got things like Marty Party and Boogie Feet. I don't know.
We always bring up them, and the other guy was Steve.
Yeah,
right?
Marty Party, Boogie Feet, and Steve. And
that's the funniest shit in the world.
That's CSI Hard Evidence. That's the second one, and that I think I like that more.
I think I gotta give that. Yeah, I gotta give that some credit.
But like in CSI 4, where like whatever that was called, was that Deadly Intent?
You could not pay me to remember which one is which.
Well, I know it's okay. It's 3 dimensions of murder is number 1.
Okay.
Hard Evidence is number 2.
Mm-hmm.
One of the next 2 is Deadly Intent.
Do you remember what the other one was?
Oh man. We spent so much time with it. Okay. I have to look it up now.
Was that third one the one where it crashed on us in the garage?
That could have been any of them. Yeah. Okay. Deadly Intent and Fatal Conspiracy. Okay, I looked it up. Deadly Intent is 3. Fatal Conspiracy is 4.
Gotcha. Yeah, 4 was just kind of like dull, just not very interesting.
Yeah. And I think I would put that under Jurassic Park.
Okay.
Because that's where the CSI games were working. Like, if you make the case sort of interesting, then we can coast on that. And that's why we would be... Like, I imagine that's why fans of the show are fans of the show.
Right.
And we weren't getting much of that out of 4. So maybe that's the bottom of the list.
And the gameplay kind of fixed itself up as it went. It got less frustrating to deal with. But then 4 just kind of like stays the same, which is fine. It didn't like take a backseat from what I remember. It didn't like regress. It didn't like get worse from what I remember. But I think just playing 3 and 2 and just being like, oh, this is better. Okay, this is functional.
Yeah.
Maybe kind of paints them a little better than they otherwise would.
Yeah, and I'm sure that anyone that worked on these games would probably be upset about, like, you're not going to put Telltale Texas Hold'em under our game. And I would think, like, no, I'm probably not. I'm probably not gonna. I mean, yeah, but it's also kind of nothing. You know, it's just like
it's nothing. But I thought it was at least interesting. I was interested in seeing like their first game, seeing the early models.
The game of not Telltale. The game of Texas Hold'em is a good game. And that's
Yeah.
like just you're starting at a higher rung of the ladder, you know?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
the little character things are fun. And when that's all that it is, that's all it has to be. So
Exactly.
yeah.
It did what it set out to do. It's not great. It's barely anything, but it works. And it's an interesting footnote, at least.
Interesting footnote. So with that in mind, we should jump back to this episode because we're in this episode,
Okay.
and let's
Sorry,
let's go ahead and do our segments because I think we're about done.
I'm so sorry. I forgot we still had segments.
We do still have segments. What's your choice cut?
I like whether or not you could squish Ryan's head with the boot.
That was mine too.
It's just so wild.
Yeah, so sometimes these choice cuts are the ones that were like, oh, that really made me think, and this one didn't. But sometimes,
yeah, it was obvious what I was
just
going to do.
It's just because of like what they're doing with the choice, and that's what this is for sure. It's just a silly thing to ask me to do.
Yeah.
Looking through these other choices that we had at the end of the episode, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 listed. I noticed something interesting about these choices, which is that half of them are not choices. Do you know what I mean? They're just simply not things that you choose. Like here's an example.
It's just whether or not you like did a thing.
Whether or not it even happened. It's not you doing it.
Oh, yeah.
Like, drummer can arrive before or after Khan kills Tor.
Right.
Not a choice. Like, you don't choose to have that happen, but it's framed to you like it's a choice. It's based on a choice I made, but that choice itself is listed, so it's almost redundant. Khan surviving. That's listed as a choice, not a choice.
I didn't make the choice for Khan to die.
Yeah.
I would have had Khan live.
The last choice in the game is drummer had to face Toussaint's pirates unarmed. Not a choice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's just an interesting thing that happened with the choices. So this making the boot thing a very choice is interesting.
Yeah. Interesting is a word for it.
Yeah. Golden moment?
I like the Virgil panic attack scene.
Also mine. We're 2 for 2 right now.
I almost had Cox using the bottle against Arlen. Okay. But that's not really anything. It's just a payoff to something that happened like 3 episodes ago that I was like, oh, okay, I like that. But yeah, the more I thought about it, the more I was like, oh no, this is an actual scene where I liked seeing it play out.
Have you ever seen the movie Signs?
No, but the rest of my family used to watch it all the time. I just decided not to.
You should see the movie Signs, if only because of the weird way that it sort of relates to my feelings about this video game.
Okay.
The whole deal with the movie Signs is that, like, a bunch of random things are happening that seem not to matter and seem not to go together. And then also there's an alien invasion in this small, like, rural town. And
yeah.
There's this there's this stuff that like leads to this culmination, this fight at the end, where like the dad of the group is just trying to get his baseball swing back. He's just practicing swinging the bat for baseball, and the girl she's being yelled at because she keeps leaving full glasses of water all around the house. It's rude. Clean up your water.
Yeah, come on.
But then it turns out that the aliens are allergic to water, like they can't stand it. So you have all this ammunition against the aliens because she leaves the glasses around, and then also the dad just clocks one with a bat. Sorry, I guess that's the ending of Signs. I just spoiled the whole movie for you. But like
that's fine.
The whole deal was like these things that don't coalesce in any way are just coming together at the very end. And it turns out that they were all important, but you didn't know it. And that feels like giving Cox the bottle. It's like, well, you can't know what he's going to do with this. It's not...
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just going to happen differently because you did it.
Yeah, I like that it happened. I was like, oh, because I did that happened. But I mean, I guess that goes against what I was saying earlier. Like, Well, I don't know. That was more just about exploring to do it. Like, when that happened, it was literally just open the drawer, pick up bottle of alcohol, give it to Cox. So I liked seeing a payoff to that I didn't need to put any time or investment into.
Yeah, sure. Okay.
But yeah, Virgil and the panic attack scene is an actual good scene.
Weekly guy.
So this was tough since I feel like there wasn't a whole lot of time for anyone besides Drummer to be the weekly guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I guess you could make a case for, like, Toussaint or even Arlen, but you just have, like, very small moments with everyone because you really got to keep it moving. I gave it to Khan just because I liked her scene where she went out fighting.
Dustin, 3 for 3.
Yes. What? Holy crap! Did all 3 of the same?
Yeah, and that's amazing because I didn't think you were going to say Khan at all. I thought that would be the last one that we wouldn't get the same.
Wow, that's crazy! I can just picture your face when I said Khan. I can just picture you going, "Oh!"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was like that.
Wow. Yeah. Well, yeah, I guess you must have a different reason for it because I just like that she did die for me, but I like that she went out like fighting, like she was tough to the end.
I think it was just a good realization of that story that she told. That like she got the opportunity to not freeze up this time, and she didn't.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's better closure. But I like that she still just what they did with Khan in both of our outcomes just paid off for us.
I really liked Toussaint this episode though, and I was almost going to go with her.
Yeah.
Yeah, but not quite. And then okay, you want to do that thing where we've just finished a season. Who was the season's greetings, season
See this is a tough one to do that for because I wasn't that in love with any of the characters.
I mean, I'd say Drummer. I think Drummer really
I think it has to be Drummer just because she's who you get the most time with.
Yeah.
She is who it's different for like if we were doing this for like Sam and Max where it's like, "Oh yeah, Sam is great, but you could have characters who are just like funnier or have a bigger presence." For this, like who else even does that much else? I guess Maya is there for a good chunk.
Mm-hmm.
I could see someone saying Maya.
I could see saying Maya. I could see Toussaint.
Yeah, I think
I could maybe even see Arlen. I don't know. That it's an interesting dynamic that you bring from beginning to end with him.
I guess. I don't know if I could see saying Arlen. I don't think he was that great.
No, but it's Drummer. Whenever I finish a game these days, I change my Discord profile picture to be a character from the game. And I was thinking about it, and it's just going to be Drummer. It's just going to be a picture of Drummer.
Yeah, I like that you do that. I liked it better when it was Rayman, but I like that it's also Drummer now.
Yeah, I think it's a cooler picture of Drummer than the picture of Rayman was of Rayman.
Right, I love that Rayman guy.
Yeah, I know. You commented on it, and you were like, "It's so cool that your profile picture is Rayman." And I was just thinking, Dustin, you can have that. You can make it also.
Oh, can I? Can I please? No, the reason I liked it so much is I never associate you with Rayman. Just in general, I don't see you as like a Rayman guy.
I like Rayman.
In just one. Right, but it's just not a series I associate with you, is what I'm saying. Like,
sure, okay.
Like for me, I adore the Rayman series. Even Courtney, I would kind of associate more with Rayman than I would you. You just don't bring it up, is what I'm saying. So just seeing you one day, my good friend Mitchell Wolf, who I do a podcast with, having Rayman as his icon, I was like, whoa, no way.
I thought it would be weirder when I had Dingo Dial as my icon.
Well, that was weirder. That one didn't hit me as hard. I love
thought
Dingo
about
Dial.
The angle of my profile picture hitting people hard.
Yeah, isn't that weird? Like, I love Dingo Dial. I love the Crash series. But for some reason, maybe it's just because I know you had like a very small connection to Crash.
Very
Just,
small. Yeah. For
yeah,
people at
very
home, I
small.
don't have any connection to Crash. Don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
yeah, exactly. But I guess just because of that, like we've talked about Crash 4 before. Maybe it's just because we've talked about Crash before. I don't think you and I have ever talked about Rayman.
I've done a podcast episode. Weren't you on it?
Was I?
About Rayman 2? Like way back. Were you not? Way back in the day? Oh, you know what? That wasn't you.
Yeah. Now that I think about it, it was not you.
Okay, yeah, no, we need to end the show. It's been good.
Yeah, have fun.
Catch us next week. We're going to be talking about the end of The Walking Dead Season 3, also known as A New Frontier. And then from that, we're going to jump right into the cavalcade of incidentals that we've talked about before and do a bunch of one-off
You
things.
it sounded like you had to force yourself to say it that time.
I did have to force myself.
like you're instantly regretting it. We're going to be going into the cavalcade of incidentals.
Well, really, I had budgeted my air to run out at a certain point in the sentence, assuming it would be the end, but then I remembered it was more syllables than I had thought.
Right. So you were physically fighting to get through it. I thought you just really hated the name.
It's just longer than I remembered. Yeah.
Well, cool, great.
Yep. So we'll see you next time, and have a great summer.
They won't. Summer will be over.